You are now listening to the Brothers and Lovers Podcast. Welcome. Come on. Stand up, rise up, rise. What you gonna do about it? Get your mind up. How you gonna move about it? Get your shoulders right. And you get right to it, and we unite. Cause they gonna fight.
Shall I stand by my brother's side? If he wrong, I should tell him why. Enter battle, we shall ride. Let the world feel our battle cry.
Stand up, rise up, rise. What you gonna do about it? Get your mind up. How you gonna move about it? Get your shoulders right. And you get right to it, and we unite. Cause they gonna fight. Stand up, rise up. What you gonna do about it? Get your mind up. How you gonna move about it? Get your shoulders right. And you get right to it, and we unite.
Welcome. Yes, I go by the name Off City. I would like to welcome you to Brothers and Lovers Podcast episode 20. Woohoo! We knocking them dead out here. Well, I asked my panel of brothers to bring their love for their children, they love for their families, and our love for our communities. Mix it with some passion, sprinkle some facts to the uncomfortable conversations. Tonight's going to be a good night. Let's start it up. I got my brother Ron with me.
Hey, brother, what's going on, man? This is Ron Crosby. I'm glad to be here tonight. We got a lot of new people tonight, so definitely welcome them to the panel. For those who may not know, I live in North Carolina, married, father of two. I'm a lawyer down here, and most definitely glad to be here tonight.
Yes. All right, and I got my brother Harvey.
What's up, everybody? Harvey Morris, and I'm just glad to be here. And I'm glad that, our guests are here. And we're excited about this conversation for tonight. And let's get it, baby. Let's get it.
Yes. All right, I'm not going to introduce it in any particular order. But our special guest we got tonight is Joyce.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joyce Walls, and I'm coming to you from Baltimore. I am a divorced mother of two sons, one of which has special needs. So I'm glad to be here and to be a part of this conversation.
Okay, all right. Then we got a special guest, Sharon. You muted. Go. There we go.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sharon.
Oh, shit. Oh, my phone.
I'm in Lower Eastern Shore, Maryland, located in Lower Eastern Shore, Maryland. I work for Homeland Security. I grew up with Harvey on Bathgate. And I guess you could say I'm sort of in the group of Harvey, Stephanie, and Musette. I'm the elder.
Yes.
I am a mother of one daughter, and I have three granddaughters.
Okay, all right. And them special guests we got, Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I reside in the Eastern Shore of Maryland, the lower part. I am single. And I'm 33 years old, and dating and all that kind of good stuff. I got a lot of brothers. And of course, I just love Black men. I mean, that's my father, that's my grandfather, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Our last guest but not least, we got Daniel. Daniel.
Hey, peace to the Black brothers and sisters. I'm Daniel M. Grandfather, father, got some great grandkids now too. Like working in the community and study addictions as a trade.
Okay. All right, all right. So this is going, like I said, this is gonna be a good one. We're gonna get a couple minds thrown. All right, but I'm gonna sit back and relax on this one. We're gonna let Brother Harb lead this conversation. So it's all on you, Brother Harb. Go and take it away.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so today's conversation, it may seem like, well, why do we have ladies on the panel? But this conversation, it's about men, but really it's about men and how we are a service to ourselves and how we are a service to the people in our lives. And so as men, we have one perspective, but I think in order to answer certain questions, we need to have a female perspective as well, because that's the balance, because life, as far as I'm concerned, life is about balance, and as far as being a man, you can't be a complete man without having balance. Therefore, let's go into the first question. What are the essential elements necessary to be considered to be a complete man? What are those things? What are those elements that composes a complete man? What do we think those things are? And anyone can start.
I'll get started, bro. Brother Harvey. I mean, I don't know if I know what the list is, but I'll give you one thing. Hopefully somebody else can help us make this list. But I think one of the first things is you have to have knowledge of who you are, knowledge of self. I mean, to be complete, you have to understand who you are. And to understand who you are, you have to know a little bit about your history, your parents, where you come from. And then beyond that, generation, who you are in this society. So to be complete, I think that's one of the first steps. I think a lot of people out there lost because they have no idea who they are. And so because they allow other people to define them, they're constantly in a state of just confusion. So I think one of the first things, if we want to be complete, we just got to know who we are. And with that, I yield.
Excellent. Anyone else would like to, add to that?
I believe that a part of being a man is definitely having a sense of responsibility. Definitely making sure that you are taking care of things that need to be taken care of, and being that head, that strong partner or person who can definitely lead and make sure that things are getting done, and make sure that you're just there, making sure that you're taking care of business, making sure that you're doing the things that need to be done.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else?
Can I go? Something I say I think is very important is being willing. What is it? Oh, dang! I don't tell my tongue. Unselfish. That's something I think is key, because as a man, you're not supposed to think about yourself. You're supposed to think about everybody around you.
Okay. I'm gonna come back to that point.
Brother Hall, can I respond to something, please? Sister Stephanie indicated that we as men, we need to be responsible, but oftentimes it's women that don't make us responsible. You have women, coming in as a mother figure almost and providing, giving a brother a place to live, putting money in his pocket, letting him drive a car. So it's like, sometimes I agree, we need to be responsible, all of us, but it's almost like a hindrance sometimes because women have been handling business for so long and taking care of stuff, they start taking care of a man. I mean, so I would love to hear the ladies respond to that.
Joyce, so do you want me to take this?
Ready?
Well, let me start by simply saying, women, yes, we do. As a matter of fact, I mean, it has been said, even going back to slavery, that if you want to teach a male slave to be the better slave, you give him to the mother, because the mother is always going to make sure that they survive.
Yeah, right.
So they teach them how to survive and not how to go forward, so to speak. It's about survival for them. So yes, I'm going to speak to Black women because I'm not so certain what white women do. I mean, but for us, yes, we have had to and continue to do everything that we can to try and keep things stable. And it makes it difficult, I think. I mean, I can just only talk from my side of things with my two sons. And I'm, constantly, trying to come on, get it together, do this, do that, even with their dad, being a part of their life, that is something that I continue to do. Now, there's a reason that we do, because for so many years, going back to slavery, the Black woman has been the backbone, because they broke the Black man down. You wouldn't, they didn't let him, get a job, or if he got a job, he needed help. So we got the help, and we did this, and we did, you know what I mean? So it's the Black woman has had a multifaceted role where the relationship has always been concerned. So yes, we are guilty of it. And my mother, it takes my mother to tell you, she'd be like, many a woman has, ruined a man but it's because it's like, it's almost ingrained in us. We do have to do and continue to do, and if not, then point the direction, you know what I mean? To try and keep things balanced, for our families. And then in so many cases, we are alone, and we're the sole provider, the sole, and it just is what it is. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, because that's important, and that's bringing me to my next point. I want to give someone else a chance to answer the question, and because Sharon, I know you had something to say on this, so I want you to say what you need to say, and then we're going to encapsulate all of this into what's happening next. So go ahead, Sharon, do your thing.
You and my sister's chomping at the bit.
Answer, Ron. I'm going to go in a different direction than my sister. Basically, women carry all of the hats. And we have, as she said, back to slavery, but it even goes back even further than that, which if you go into biblical times, okay, women carry their families. Men have a part. They are hunters and they are providers. Women are nurturers. They carry the home. So in many cases, what you're talking about when you say that women take care of the house, they give the man, they provide for the man, they are in a structure of doing that. And it does not just go for today's society, but if you look back into history, you will also see this, where that they provided for the home. So if that man comes in the home, she is going to provide for her home. She is going to build her home. Now, does the man provide for his family? That's the question. Because his responsibility is to be the provider. He is supposed to be the head. He is supposed to carry his family. And if he does not, the family has to be carried. So therefore, the woman carrying all the hats has to do that as well.
Thank you. You know what? You're getting right there with me. You're getting right there with me. Who's next? We have somebody else who wants to, reply to this. And if not, then I'm going to go into.
I don't want to snatch it, man. But look, I'm enjoying what we're saying and let it go, because I'm still on the, okay, men. I'm talking about the point when men aren't doing what they're supposed to do. It's like sometimes women don't hold them accountable and therefore cripple these guys. I'm talking about these guys, who move in with the woman and she's got her own place or whatever, and he moves in and he doesn't get a job. He doesn't go to work. He's not doing anything. I'm not talking about a man who's been beaten. I'm talking about a raggedy guy. I'm talking about a guy who is trifling. And you got women holding these guys up and not holding them accountable. That's what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about the woman who's the backbone where she's like lifting that man up because society has broken him down. I'm talking about the guy who ain't trying to do nothing and is not making any type of attempt to make a standard, and you still have women making excuses for them. And so, I want to talk to that and say, well, what needs to happen? What do women need to do in those types of situations so that men will be forced to become responsible, or at least move out of their house or out of their life?
Yeah. Hey, Brother Ron, you know what? Thank you very much. And now I'm gonna encapsulate everything that we're talking about right here. Okay, so what I've learned, and this is just my idea, that in order to be a complete person, but particularly we're talking about men, in order to be a complete man, that means that we must be there must be a balance. There must be a balance of his mental fortitude, his physical fortitude, his financial fortitude, his spiritual fortitude, and his emotional fortitude. All of these things encapsulate a complete person, but we're talking about men in particular. So therefore, as far as the sisters talking about, because they're mothers who help to raise men, so it's just like, if we're not raising our children to have that balance, or teaching our children, or modeling that behavior of balance, then of course we're gonna raise imbalanced children, and on top of that, when we start talking about, there's a difference between empowering and enabling. Okay. And so therefore, we have to make sure that when we're empowering our children, that means that there's a, if you will, a cutoff time, meaning that when you're babies, I'm going to teach you these lessons. And like the mama bird, at some point, I got to cut you off from the nest. I got to push you out the nest so that you can learn how to fly. Now, here's the thing. It goes back to balance. If we as parents are not teaching our children how to fly, teaching our children how to, have balance, teaching, giving them their mental lessons, and, teaching them how, you got to work, that's the physical, but also, you got to exercise, you got to keep yourself together. That's the physical. The mental is, I'm going to reassure you, I'm going to give you the proper education that you need, or see to it that you get the proper education. That's the mental. Now we talk about the financial. If we're not teaching our children how to budget, if we're not teaching our children how to manage money, if we're not teaching our children how to grow money, then we're imbalanced from that perspective. Now, spiritual means, to different things to other people. But what I learned spirituality is what we practice every day. What we practice every day yields a spirit. So therefore, if we practice discord, we're yielding the spirit of discord in our lives. If we practice in peace, we're yielding the spirit of peace in our lives. And so therefore, if we're talking about, a balance where we're talking about the word, if we're going to talk about the word, then, when we're reading the word, it's not that mystical things, but those practices that are in the word that allows us to be healthy human beings, because there are a lot of practices in the word if we go from that perspective. Now, emotional, it's okay to be vulnerable, but we don't teach our young brothers that, it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to cry. You cry, but then you get yourself back up and handle your business. Take your minute, go and cry, but get yourself back up. And guess what? I'm there for you when you're crying. I'm there for you when you need to be strong. I'm there for you when you need to make those decisions. I'm not going to make those decisions for you, but I'm going to support you as you make decisions. And understand that in life, there are going to be positive and negative consequences, because consequences, the name consequence in itself only means a response to something. So, if we be positive, we get positive things going. We do negative, we do negative, we get negative things. So on that, that's a complete man. So I'm going to leave that there. Now, I have another question. Do we have the ability to see and address our shortcomings? And why is that important? If we don't understand our shortcomings, then that means that we're not in a place to ask for help when we fall short. So if I don't know how to raise my daughter, or if I don't know how to raise my son, can I possibly seek out people who can assist me in that? Now, I'm going to leave it there. Somebody answer that question. Do we have the ability to see and address our shortcomings?
Yes, we do. However, we have to also understand that a father loves his daughters and raises his sons, and a mother loves her sons and raises her daughters. We each have a responsibility. Our responsibility is that God gave us the position that we do. Okay. And if we step out of that line, in which today's society, the way things are going with the last two generations, okay, we have taken on responsibilities that God did not intend for us to take on. He did not make that system that way. So therefore, we have a confused system of raising our children. And in raising our children that way, the way that we're doing the best that we can. But in raising them, they become confused and they alter what it is that the responsibilities that they're supposed to take on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Brother Daniel, I would like, for you to come in on this.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about that question right there, brother. Of course we have the ability, but we have a lot of elements that we challenge, especially as Black people in America. And I want us to stop making excuses about that, because I think that when I read about Africa and how the family was raised in Africa prior to us being brought over here, we had a system in place. And like what you were speaking about, a balance, we definitely had balance. Everybody knew their role within the village. I think that we lost some of the elements that you also were speaking about, as far as the spiritual. And I'm a preacher of the whole person: spiritual, mental, physical, emotional. That's my thing. I think if one part of us is sick, then the rest of it is sick. No matter how we can have a whole bunch of money, but if we are not emotionally attached to our children, then the family's affected. If we arguing with our woman, the whole world within our space is affected. So it's a lot of elements, but I think that we have the capability of doing it. I think that our struggle is that it's too many small pockets of us doing it, and we have to do it holistically now as a Black nation in order for us to really get it done properly. So, like, I know Islamically, if you have situations like you have two sisters that's speaking right now, and they had to raise the family by themselves. Well, in some societies that never would have happened. Some of the men in the village would have took care of the kids and make sure they were that male role model for the kids. So we lost that. Some people just take care of their family, and they their money's up and everything's good. Their kids is in private school, so that's enough for them. I think that my thought about it is not enough anymore for us to just say that we're straight, and so these bums over here that's not working to take care of their family, we separate ourselves from them. And once we separate ourselves from them, then that's the whole nation right there. So I think that we have a nation problem that we have to fix. I think individually we could do it, but what about the whole nation? What about our whole society of Black people that's struggling as a whole? And shouldn't be struggling at this time in the United States, because we built the country. We built the systems. We shouldn't be struggling right now. So that's my thought about it.
Thank you. Someone else, come on, bring it on. Who else?
I want to add to that yes, we have the capability of asking for help, but so many people, one, are in denial, and two, think they can fix it themselves instead of reaching out for help. Now, I'm speaking to this because it's the kind of the life that I've had to lead with my son who has autism. And number one, it took my whole family to back me up. I knew that I wasn't alone in that, but it took my whole family all the way around. Every one of my sisters, they have their own stories about working with my son. But I also had to recognize that he needed help outside of even home. So a lot of people, and I have talked to a lot of people who have, I have an organization, Joy of Life Developmental Institute, which deals with recreation and outreach for adults with autism. What I have noticed is that when younger people, when I talk to younger parents who just had, kids with autism, there are so many of them who don't want to admit. They're in denial about what their situation really is. Now, I'm just going to take that over to regular people, neurotypical people, so to speak. And in our lives, so many of us don't want to admit that we need assistance learning how to comb our daughter's hair. We don't want to admit that we need some assistance doing whatever. The male ego, I'm going to add on top of that, not knowing specifically, right, but knowing of, they want to feel like they can do it themselves. And I mean, just looking at like teaching my son how to ride his bike, I can do it. Fell 50 times, but he had to fall those 50 times before he would say, okay, well, or before he just took it and went off. So I think that male ego might be in the middle of that, a little bit, but it's an ego that all of us have when it comes to our children, right? Because we think that we are the end all and be all and everything for our children, and they are, we know how to do it. We're gonna do it. There's no book that teaches you how to be a parent in the many, many facets of parenthood. But I think that, it's kind of, those two things, a little bit of ego, a little bit of denial, because we all want to think that we have it. I think eventually everyone kind of gets it and they realize that they need the help. And then a lot of our families will kind of step in and say, do you need a little help? I'm here to help if you need it. You know what I mean? Yeah, so.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Go ahead, somebody.
Not just families. Look in your neighborhoods too. I have to say that, as we were growing up, both of our parents worked, but we had a Miss Clara, we had a Mr. Hill, we had Miss Foster. Okay, they took care of us when our parents were not there. Where it says that it takes a village to raise a child, it does, but you have to be open to have that
village. Yes.
And today, and today that's really not, that has been lost to us. I think today. Today, if someone were to chastise your child for doing whatever, or say, I'm gonna, tell your mother, they would tell, the kid itself would tell you, and then when you went to the parent would tell you mind your business. So we have it's a big thing that has been lost for us,
Right. Hey, Stephanie. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm finished.
I'm sorry. I want to say, Stephanie, I want to include you in on this, and Dee, I also want you to, chime in on this.
Well, I just have a quick thing. I was just going to say, just in general, as a human being, it's hard to take a look at yourself. It's hard to look in the mirror. It's hard to see your flaws. It's hard to acknowledge that there's something wrong. I think that's something that a lot of people tend to avoid and put the blame on other people rather than see it within themselves. It's natural. It's something that we all do, white, black, whatever. But that's all I have to say about that. It's hard. It's hard to look at yourself, see that there's a flaw, see that there's something wrong, and acknowledge it, let alone work on the steps of trying to heal it. And of course, that's a whole different, story there. But it's hard. Yeah.
Yes. Dee?
I do agree with everybody. My little thing is my little twist on it is I think as a people we measure down instead of measuring up. Where we could be like, hey, this person got, let's just say, like it's like, oh, this girl got 3 kids, I only got 2, so I'm straight. Like, you know what I mean? Like we compare ourselves to what's lower, as long as we're not the last coming in is really the as our really motto type of thing, if it makes sense.
Makes sense.
Really, can I? So
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate what Stephanie said, because I was thinking the same thing as far as, to address the shortcoming. I mean, we have to recognize it, but the thing I wanted to add a little wrinkle is sometimes we don't recognize our own shortcomings because we've been taught that it's just the way things are. It's a way of life. And if we don't recognize that, no, it doesn't have to be that way, it's not a way of life, then there's no opportunity to address or get help for that shortcoming. And so, that's what must happen first as well. Once, sometimes you're in denial, but then sometimes you just don't know because you haven't been educated. And I was thinking about, something like vision. As your vision starts to fail, those of us who have, gotten a couple years on us, your vision starts to fail a little bit and you begin to believe, that's just the way of life. You get older. We don't recognize it as a shortcoming because we tend to just kind of accept that's just the way things are. But somebody may teach us that, hey, it doesn't have to be that way. You can go get your vision corrected and you can see like you used to could see 20 years ago. And so if somebody educates us in that area, then we can address the shortcoming and get help. But I just wanted to, just add that wrinkle on to it.
Well, and I'm grateful for all of you for your feedback. I want you to think about this. Have you ever considered, as men, we've been taught to suck it up. We fall down, we taught suck it up, handle it. Don't cry, you know what I'm saying? And so therefore, if we're saying don't cry, ultimately, when we process that thought, that's almost saying don't ask for help. Don't display any emotion. Don't display those things that, that hurt you. You understand? So if we don't display those things that hurt us, if we don't say, wow, this is hurting me and I feel uncomfortable and, I need somebody to help me. If we're taught to suck it up and that's the only thing that we hear, and these are the people we surround ourselves with, then of course we're going to operate in deficit because we've been taught in our programming to operate in deficit. Suck it up, handle it. And if you can't figure it out, for yourself, well, you just have to deal with it. And the reality is, if we have been ill-equipped to some degree to operate from a place of being whole, if we have been ill-equipped to operate from a place of asking for help, then we are setting ourselves up to to be in the disadvantage, in that imbalance. The other thing, Brother Ron, that you said about corrective vision, the other thing that we must correct and think about is, what are we eating? What are we watching? Because all of those things, we are what we eat. We are what we eat. So not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we are what we eat. So in order to encapsulate that balance, we have to be mindful of what we take into our lives, the people that we take into our lives, food that we take into our lives, the information that we take into our lives, being mindful even of the people that we allow to lead us spiritually. We have to be mindful. Now, here's the other part to that. If we don't know what's wrong, how can we correct it? You understand? And so the beginning part is like, okay, well, now there's the litmus test. If what this person is operating in, is it mentally enriching? Is it physically enriching? Is it financially enriching? Is it spiritually enriching? Is it emotionally enriching? In fact, we need to ask ourselves that question. And what I'm providing to my children, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, emotionally enriching. Because we don't think about that. Sometimes we teach lessons that we were taught years ago, and don't necessarily mean that it has, it's healthy, but it was, it's like spanking a kid. We learn to spank our children because our parents spanked us. Not to say that, that form of discipline is inappropriate What I'm saying is when it's applied in an unhealthy way, it becomes abuse. So we have to be mindful of that. Which brings me to my next point, which brings me to my next question. Do we operate within the scope of manhood or personhood, in this particular case, in manhood, that we envision for ourselves on a daily basis? So in essence, what I'm asking is, if we have an idea of what this enriched manhood is, are we operating in that in that vision on a daily basis? Do we practice these things that we so desire? And on that, that's the question. So anybody can jump in.
I was gonna go ahead and jump in there. I just noticed something the other day. I was riding past a high school, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? If a young man doesn't join a sport or is a part of a chess club or something like that, and he's just going to school regularly, doesn't have a father at home, and he's just going to school regularly, just going to class, there's no responsibility that he's being taught every day when he's going to school. I think that's something that's missing in our school systems, or maybe it could be, something where, someone could do homeschooling or something like that. But that sense of responsibility as a child is just not there for our Black men. What are we really learning?
See, now it's interesting that you should say that, and I want other people to chime in. The question becomes, I understand it's not there, but let's focus on how can we create it so that it is there, and whose responsibility is it to create that? Because from my perspective, as a man, it's not somebody else's responsibility to teach my children. It's my responsibility to teach my children. Now, here's the thing. I think that as far as men and women, sometimes we see things different. So say, for example, we have a mother and father in the household, and the father teaches the child from a man's perspective. And the woman, sees it, oh, you're being so hard, and makes these things, right? So now, especially when you're saying these kind of things in front of your children, what are you doing? You understand? Because that's a conversation. Our methodology to approach is a conversation that's for the husband and wife. That child should not be privy to that conversation, because when that child sees that mother and father operating, or when that child is being disciplined by the father, the mother, it's a united front. When that child is being disciplined by the mother, it's a united front. But again, that goes back down to the conversations that we are having, the healthy conversations that we're having, and the ability to say, you know what, I'm the mother, you the father, I'm gonna fall back. But all too often, because of the programming, and sisters been programmed to be everything, sometimes what I have found is that because we're programmed to be everything, we don't allow other people.
Spit it out. Spit it out, Harv. Spit it out, Harv. Don't get scared because these women on the panel. Spit it out, brother. Come on now. I don't even know what you're saying no more.
I'm going to speak to that, Harvey. When you finish, I'm going to speak to that.
All I'm saying is that sometimes you got to back your hiney up so a man can be the man and do what he do with the babies. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead, Sharon. Go ahead, Joyce. Do your thing. Do your thing.
So I was married for 18 years, okay? And that was conversation that my husband and I had. Now, the thing is that my husband preferred, his methodology was to talk to someone about everything that they did. He wanted to talk to them about everything, and now you shouldn't do that. Now, our father was like that. Our dad was like that. I'm talking to you now, you take this quarter and you go, and you don't do that anymore. But you all, if any of you have men children, that doesn't always work. And so I'm going to use the analogy of the child in the hot stove. If you tell the child, don't touch the hot stove, it's hot, they still gonna go and try to touch the hot stove. Now, your question, that your choice is to either let them touch the hot stove and experience it, or you spank their behind and stop them from touching it. My husband will want to talk to them and say, you shouldn't touch the stove. Well, I'm gonna spank your butt until you don't touch the stove. So I did fall back and let him do it, but talking doesn't always work in so many cases.
Wait. Now, wait. Now, I have a question. Now, I have a question for you on this. Is it that talking doesn't always work, or doesn't operate, or talking doesn't operate in the time that you expect it to?
Okay. Now, that is definitely true. That is definitely true. But the other important side of it is I didn't have this discussion in front of my kids.
Right.
This was not a discussion in front of my children. This was a discussion between my husband and I about what would need to be done. And I was like, you need to spank that butt. Sometimes he's like, spanking is not for everything. And I'm, so we went back and forth, like that. Because he was like, I don't like when somebody hits me. No, I don't like when somebody hits me either, but touch the hot stove, or, you know what I'm saying? So we used both. And my household wasn't only spanking. We had timeout, punishment, all of those things. And I think for the majority of people, spanking is not the only thing that they use. The timeout, the sitting in the corner, and all those kinds of things were things that we used, because just like you were saying, you have to use balance. The other side of that was consequence.
Yes.
What is the consequence of your actions? And some people don't have the foresight to understand that. My youngest son has no understanding of that, and we're still working on trying to get that understanding across. But the consequences of your actions, a lot of times people don't learn until much later. So it's a difficult lesson. I'll say that.
Right. But see now, and I appreciate that. Now, sometimes as parents, I've learned that sometimes when we discipline, I question whether there's a methodology to discipline. Are we disciplining because, I'm applying this particular method to this child because this is the way this child learns and this is how they process information. And so therefore this discipline is a discipline, not out of anger, not out of frustration because I'm frustrated, but this is how this child processes information. So I'm going to apply this discipline based on this particular child because this is how they respond to this particular situation. And all too often, I think that because there's no balance in our own lives, we don't apply that methodology to the discipline that we offer our children sometimes. That's all. I'll leave it there. I'm not talking about you in general. I'm just saying in general.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So somebody else, come on, chime in, somebody.
Okay. Can I all right. So I have to say this. Coming up, Joycelyn, Musette, and I grew up with the same parents and the same household. Okay. I was the rebellious one. I took my parents to the ultimate limit. Okay.
Your friends too, girl. Your friends too. Oh, Lord.
You ain't said nothing but a word, Harv.
But through those consequences, okay, and through the process and the learning, you two just within time, I had to learn. I learned, but my parents did not give up on me. My sisters, my family did not give up on me. And in many cases, what happens is people give up, and we can't give up. We've got to fight through.
Right.
Now, look at me. I'm, in my better years. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. And I'm successful. I would not have been that way if I stayed on the pattern and the the road that I was traveling as a teenager or a young kid. So we can't give up on us, and we can't give up on our children.
Amen. Amen. Somebody else, come on, chime in. Somebody, come on.
I'll say something. Like I have this battle with my kid's mother all the time, and now we great grandparents. So I've learned to like work on myself a little bit more, because I was real firm in some of the ways that I think I need to raise the males in my family and raise the females in my family. So we had my kid's mother had like 7 sisters, and our house was the house where everybody came. So I don't like some of the ways that she enabled them. I looked at it as enabling. Now I realized that she was defending her family no matter what. But me, I looked at it as an enabling process for the family, because you kept upholding some of the bad stuff that they did and not teaching them. So like even today, like we got little grandkids and they running around and they like little independent people. And the way that they talk to her, I'm like this. I cover my mouth, like, don't talk to your grandmother like that. And then what the grandmother does is the grandmother will defend them no matter what still. So that brings a little bit of shaky ground with me and her. And I have to pull her in the room and say, listen, even if you don't like the firmness that I have about when I'm talking to our grandkids, you got to trust that I'm not going to do nothing to hurt them. What I'm giving them is that balance, because you all the way on this side and I'm on it. We got to balance it out all the time. And we can't go against each other no matter what. If we make mistakes, we got to be open-minded enough to say, okay, maybe you was a little rougher than you should have been, Daniel. So next time be a little bit more easy, because he got asthma. He might have asthma. I think that it's important that, like, I'm not in a relationship with her, like us personally, us intimately, but we still got a family. And I think that we still got to stay in tune with our family. Like what Sharon said, we can't give up. So I'm not in a relationship with her, but I still got to stay there with the family, because I think that they'll go haywire if I'm not there to keep us like this. We got to protect them, but we also got to equip them, because if we don't equip them, and some of the stuff that we allow them to do in the family, when they get outside, people, the streets gonna hold them accountable or whatever. So, I just think that we just got to do a better job at being open-minded, but staying firm in what we already know to be true. And despite whether it's a element of a woman or a man, we got to be firm and open-minded. That's for me. That's what helps me to be better now, is that I be firm because I know what I believe in, but I got to still stay open-minded to what's going on in the world in live time. So, I just want to share that.
Thank you. Who do we miss? D, did you come in?
What was the question again?
The question was, do we operate within the scope of manhood in the way that we envision ourselves on a daily basis? That was the initial question. And then we went into other areas, and what I mean by that is this. Just think about this, Steve. That was the question. But the other question is no, look, I'm going to let you answer that question, then we're going to something else. Y'all took me someplace else right now, but you know what I'm saying? Because a house divided against itself cannot stand. That's what I'm saying. Whether we in the house or outside the house. Go ahead, D.
I do think we do, but it's interesting. All right. How I look at it is, people look at themselves and they portray the person they want to be, if it makes sense. So they're living in the person they think they want to, not even say think, because not like that, but the person how they want to be portrayed. So you know what I mean? So it's, are they living in what they feel is necessary? Like nowadays guys are doing stuff they feel is necessary in the world now. You know what I mean? Like, they doing stuff that I wouldn't do in my, like, growing up. I wouldn't think about doing. I wouldn't even, you know what I mean? Because it's just how I grew up in the world I was in, I guess. That makes
Okay.
sense.
I got you. Anybody else want to chime in on that? And I'm gonna respond to that. Go ahead, somebody else. Oh, nobody else wants to respond? Okay, so now I'm gonna speak to a couple of things. When we start talking about, goal setting, then that means that we have a vision of where we want to be. And then when we start applying the think it, do it, be it, process, the think it, do it, be it, I think, therefore I am. So meaning, okay, we have, a few moments. So I want you to think about this from this perspective. In order to get to where we need to be, we need to practice other things, especially when we're short, we have shortcomings, so that means that, there's a process to overcoming those shortcomings, meaning that number one, we have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Number two, we have to be open to receive other information. Number three, we have to be willing to practice things, even though they may appear to be difficult initially, because there's a saying that what we hope to do with diligence, what we hope to do with ease, we first must learn to do with diligence. Now, I just want to address something that Daniel said real quick. And what I have learned in my years is that when I say a house divided against itself can't stand, meaning this, Brother Daniel, when you're giving information, that information needs to be reinforced by, your ex-wife, or by the grandmother, and what the information that the grandmother gives has to be reinforced by you. And that, I'm not just talking about you, I'm just talking about in general. So that means that's why it's important that we have conversations before we do a presentation. You know what I'm saying? It's important that we have a conversation before we do presentation, so that we will always be a united, consistent front as far as the information that we give, and impart and practice, because the other part of that is modeling the behaviors that we expect to see. We can't expect our children to see something if we don't show it to them. And we show it to them by modeling those behaviors. Okay, so we got just a few more minutes. And so I want to do a quick wrap up. I want everybody to give their last thoughts, and then go from there. These start with you. And I'll keep it to 60 seconds. Are you on mute?
I go last because I gotta wrap everything, number.
Okay, all right. So
Brother Ron, you go, you hold it down. You know how to do it, Brother Ron.
All right, first, it's been a great discussion. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Gosh, it's great having these ladies on there. Maybe we can do that more often. I mean, given that it twisted my brother Harvey up, he was a little scared, but the women looked a little nervous. But the one thing I just want to say, when it comes to our responsibility, the thought I want to leave with everyone is, whatever your responsibility is, particularly we were talking about children, you can always designate, your authority, but you can never designate your responsibility. And I think that is a problem that we've had in our community, and particularly with us as men. We have a responsibility to our families, to our children, that, we haven't met. And when I say you can designate your authority, you can give somebody the right to do certain things. You can give them, you're designating some of your authority, but ultimately that responsibility always falls back on each and every one of us to ensure that what was supposed to happen does in fact happen. And the fact that you've given somebody else the authority to do it doesn't relieve us of our responsibility. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. All right, come on, Sharon. Come on, girl. What you got for me?
Well, I've traveled a long road, and I'm at the point now where that I have the wisdom, okay, which I pass on to my niece and even to my sisters when they need it. We all have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to not only our children, but our community children, and to also the adults. I mean, me as an unquoted elder now, there are young parents and young adults that need that guidance, that have never had that guidance. So, it's a responsibility that we all should take on, no matter what age, no matter what group. But, we are a people, and we've always been a strong people, but it's up to us to continue our strength to endure whatever is coming at us in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on, Joyce. What you got for me? Wrap it up, girl. Give it to me.
Well, I think, the Black community, I'm just going to come there, needs a lot of help. The help that we're going to get is from the inside out. That help is going to come from both men and women. We need to be assured in our roles so we can help our people, to live and flourish in their roles. And I think that once we get our programs in line and start moving in them together, I think that we'll benefit our people in a big, big way. Once we get our programs together and we can then let them see what it is we want to do, how we want to do it, where we want to try and take them. And I think once we get the women and the men together in our communities to work together, we'll be able to do that village that we need to move forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on, Stephanie. What you got for me?
I was just going to say that I feel like, of course, it always starts with the children. I think just going back into the school direction, just our way of living. I mean, our kids go to school for how many years? 18 years? They're in a school system that hates them, that is racist towards them, who is counting them out and pretty much, saying to them, hey, you're not anything. You're never going to be anything. And, and they're following suit. I just hope that one day, we can kind of guide our children, in the right direction and be able to, show them that, hey, you are little kings and little queens and princesses and princes, and, you do have value, and we want to see you do well, not only for yourself, but for us as a community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Brother Daniel, what you got for me, baby?
I just want to thank you, brothers, for being having this venue to talk. It's beautiful. Appreciated it. What I have for you is that you had a very important question about my ability to address my shortcomings. So throughout my journey, I'm just trying to be the greatest person that I can be, and that's a full person, mental, spiritual, physical, emotional person. If I can get a little finances to go along with that, it's going to be beautiful. But I think more importantly, once I continue to strive to do that, then I can do what the God wants us to do, and that is for us to build our nation and get our people back to where they're supposed to be, which I believe is on the throne of this earth. So I think that we got to continue to work on ourselves and then work on them, help each other. Don't give up, So it's a lot of work, but it's a work that I think that if you want to do it, then we can do it. So I'm just looking forward to that work. That's it.
Thank you. And I'm just going to say that empowerment starts from within. And I thank you all. I thank everyone for being on the panel today. This was a wonderful conversation. I had so many questions, that I want to ask, but I guess we're going to have to do a part 2 to this. So, but I just want to say thank you all. And I'm going to turn it over to D. Come on, D.
All right. Yes. This deep conversation was a nice conversation was happening. Let's get into it. Y'all know what we do from now. Let's shout out the sponsors, the day ones. All right, let's salute them. Salute Crosby Legal. Yes, yes,
All right.
yes, yes. Let's salute Life of Phoenix. Yes,
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 yes.
yes. Let's salute the Father's Vision. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes. Let's also salute Tough Stuff Production, LLC. Yes, 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 yes. Let's also salute PM Prosperity, LLC. Yes, 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 yes. And also let's salute Star City Cleaning, LLC. Yes, 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 yes. Wow. Okay, I want to thank everybody, the special guests for coming out. Thank you for letting us hear your thoughts and your minds and your everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, me and my brothers hope you continue this conversation with your brothers. We hope you continue this conversation in the comments. You like, you share, you pass this video around. All right, in 2 weeks of February 12th, we're going to have, well, yeah, he's not even here today, but let's give a shout out to our brother that's not here before we leave. Y'all know what it is. Brother Larry. Brother Larry's going to hold a conversation in 2 weeks. King, and the topic is King Noah. And we're going to get into that. Whoa. But you guys know my motto. All right, we're going to be out of here. Y'all know my motto. Walk in love and live in your blessings. Woo, I'm all. You're going crazy today. All right, all right. We are out of here, guys. Have a good one.